What is up, Insaners? How are you guys doing today? Welcome to another Euro 2020 fantasy video. Today we'll be discussing the round of 16 fixtures along with some of the best players to target and what could be your overall strategy for the remaining match days. Plus we'll also have some fun and do a bit of tinkering at the end, guys, so make sure you watch the whole video. It's going to be a lot of fun and I'm sure you'll find it useful. In case you do, please support us and hit the like button, guys. You can also consider subscribing if you're new around here. We'll do a lot of stuff on fantasy, whether it's FPL or Euros this time, so do smash that bell icon if you want to get notified of our coming videos. Great, with all that out of the way, let's start today's video. So we are at the round of 16 stage and there are some really good fixtures from a fantasy point of view. We're starting the round with Wales versus Denmark, guys. This looks like a tight game. Now both teams are defensively sound and this could be a low scoring one. From a fantasy point of view, Bale is a decent outside shout. You also have the likes of Simon Kjær or even Mela from Denmark. Then guys, Italy's facing Austria. Looks pretty easy, right? Italy have been brilliant at both ends of the pitch and you can easily go for a double up on the Italian defense along with maybe a couple of attackers as well. Coming to Netherlands, and they're also favourites to win their round against Czech Republic, and like Italy, guys, you can easily have 3 to 4 players like Stecklenburg, Dumfries, Wijnaldum and Memphis Depay. Then it's Belgium versus Portugal. I personally feel this might be a tough game. According to the odds, Belgium are slight favourites, guys. They probably even have the better rounded team, but Portugal have Cristiano Ronaldo, who's on fire, and he finds a way to score against any team. Guys, Belgium too have the likes of Eden Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne, so this could be a pretty interesting one. Coming to the next game, Croatia is playing Spain. Now both teams didn't have the easiest of times in the group stages, guys, so this could be a close one again. Spain definitely look favourites to win this one, but this might not be a thrashing as we expect. To be honest, guys, not a lot to go here as Perisic is probably the only option from Croatia worth a look. Spain has some decent options all across the pitch, guys, but there is a slight risk in terms of rotation. Our next game is France versus Switzerland, and this looks like a straight win for the French team. I mean, you can easily target the likes of Mbappe, Griezmann or even Benzema from attack. Coming to our final two fixtures, guys, England versus Germany is a tough one to call. Now guys, Germany just about managed to get through, whereas England, though keeping clean sheets in all their group games, they've looked pretty average in attack. You have the likes of Havertz, Gnabry or even Gosens in defense from Germany's perspective. Guys, the final game is Sweden playing Ukraine, and you can target a couple of filler options from Sweden, who's definitely the stronger side among the two. Okay, so now let's talk about our next section, and that's the strategy choices that you can go for. Guys, the strategy really depends if you have the wildcard left here or not. If you've used it in match day 3 like me and a lot of other managers, then you might want to plan a bit long term and back the fixtures that are more straightforward. For example, Italy, France and Netherlands are clear favourites to win their games, and going for at least a triple up from these teams sorts out almost 60 to 70% of your team. Now if all these teams win their round of 16 games, guys, there's a huge chance that Netherlands face one of Denmark or Wales, probably Denmark, which looks like a really good game for the Dutch. Investing in them means you have 3 to 4 players for at least 2 games and have quite a good chance of doing well. Similarly, guys, having France and Italy players means that France can play one of Croatia or Spain. Now you would say that they would be favourites in that game and you can target a couple of France attackers at least. Coming to Italy, and they would draw one of Belgium or Portugal, guys. Now both teams are capable of scoring, but Italy's defense has been pretty solid and you might be in a decent shape having at least a couple of players from Italy. Guys, in case if you have your wildcard left, you are in a pretty good position as you can easily use it in the quarterfinal stage and attack the round of 16 a bit more by taking a few risks. In this case, guys, you can actually guesstimate, which is basically forming an estimate based on the guesswork that you do along with some calculations. So let's say you probably back Spain to beat Croatia, but then they might face France, which is probably not a great fixture from Spain's defense perspective. So you can load your squad with at least a couple of Spanish players and then remove them for the France game. Another example, guys, is taking a bet on players from the England-Germany game. Let's say you bet on Germany to go through and have an attacker like Havertz or even Gosens from Germany. Though the fixture looks tough and people not having the wildcard might not take a chance, but you can go a bit heavy on one team. Guys, if it doesn't work out, you can probably switch to the other team on your wildcard as they have a great fixture against one of Sweden or Ukraine and have to be favourites for that game. I think overall you can take a few risks with your wildcard still in play. If you don't have that chip, then definitely back the teams who are heavy favourites so that you can have them for at least a couple of games. Guys, do let me know in the comments if you have your wildcard left and what strategy will you be going for. Now let's talk about a few players to target when you're building your team. Just a reminder guys, you have unlimited transfers before the deadline for this round, so it's like a wildcard in a way. Obviously you cannot play a limitless chip in this round, and the budget for building your team is 105 million instead of the 100 figure that we got in the group stages. So we'll start with some must-haves guys, then we'll move to some differential picks and some alternate options across all positions. Okay, so let's start with goalkeepers first. Who better to go for than the Italian goalkeeper guys, Donnarumma in this case. Now there is a reason that he's the most owned keeper in the game guys. I feel that trend will continue. He's kept clean sheets in all the group games guys. Now Italy's defense looks very solid, and I personally don't think that the Austrian attack would trouble Donnarumma. Also if Italy go through, they will play Belgium or Portugal. Again both sides have good attacks, but I think Italy is very much capable of keeping a couple of clean sheets here. Now in case you're looking to save some money and invest a bit more in attack or your midfield, but are still looking for a clean sheet potential, then I think Stecklenburg is a great option to have. Guys, the Netherlands are facing Czech Republic and also have a possible clash against one of Wales or Denmark. So maybe a couple of clean sheets there. The thing is that with keepers guys, there's not really a very high upside. I mean it's not every game that they will make 10 odd saves or even save a penalty, so going value generally is the right call. Now let's move forward now. Assuming you are going for one of Donnarumma or Stecklenburg and you want another cheaper playing keeper, then Danny Ward guys is another interesting option. He plays for Wales who face Denmark. I feel this could also be a close game. We know Wales are a decent side in terms of defense and they generally play on the counter with Bale leading the way, and Ward could be a decent option this week guys, especially when we talk about saves made. Gosh, he's already made 14 saves guys in the last 3 games that he's played, so you might just nick a couple of cheeky points here. I'm sure he'll also be less owned, so you can also get the benefit of being differential and can gain more than the others. Guys, you can even go for the likes of Simon or probably even Lloris if you're not very sure of a France defender, considering all the injury issues they're facing. I feel these moves may be a bit risky and you are paying a lot more money than required. Another thing to keep in mind is that guys, making a goalkeeper transfer in the next round also doesn't make a lot of sense, so you might as well go cheap and invest elsewhere. Okay, so now let's look at some defenders. We'll talk about a couple of must-haves and then try to explore different options. Our first defender is Dumfries from the Netherlands guys. I feel he's a must-have. Now Netherlands have a really good round and a decent quarterfinal as well. Dumfries is the top scoring defender in the game so far with 22 points. He's a real threat going forward. Now we've seen that he makes multiple runs in the penalty area guys, constantly threatening the goalkeeper and defenders around him. I'm telling you, these are really good signs from a fantasy perspective. Plus the Netherlands defense is well capable of keeping a clean sheet as well. Don't overthink it guys, he's a sure starter and get him in your fantasy team. The second must-have player in this list is Spinazzola from Italy. Now we've already mentioned how good Italy's defense is, so clean sheets are kind of a given with Spinazzola. In general guys, he has blistering pace going forward and there's a great chance of getting some points on the other side of the pitch as well. If you look at the fixture guys, Italy's playing Austria, who lack the consistency going forward and won't worry the Italian team. There's definitely a good chance that Spinazzola spends more time in the Austrian half for the entire game, and that is screaming a lot of fantasy points. Now let's look at some decent value options as well. We start with Joachim Mela, who plays for Denmark guys. Like honestly, he has been a treat to watch in the tournament so far. Like Spinazzola guys, he has tremendous pace and trickery in his locker. That's exactly what you want in a fantasy defender, right? 11 points from the first 3 games, that's just about 4 points per game on average, and that looks quite decent. In fact, he offers one of the best returns in the points around that price bracket guys. He's facing Wales, so there is a potential for a clean sheet here, and could face Netherlands, which again is not the worst possible fixture. At that price guys, he provides high value and definitely one to consider. Another great option around the 4.5 million price bracket is Pau Torres from Spain. I think he starts ahead of Eric Garcia and he plays with Laporte in the heart of Spain's defense for the next game. Also guys, with 4 clean sheets out of their last 5 matches, Spain have shown great performances in defense. Imagine combining this with their complete domination of games guys that they play through possession, not allowing their opponents many opportunities to score. That looks pretty good, right? Spain play Croatia next, who can be a hit and miss, and after that it might get a bit tricky with France, but you never know. Guys, these games can be tight with a surprise or two, so definitely worth a shot. Other than these, if you are going for value, you can look at the likes of Danielsson from the Swedish defense, which is generally pretty tight. England also has a good defense, so maybe Stones can be an option as well. In case if you have your wildcard left, guys, then you can probably look at the likes of Gosens from Germany or even Munier from Belgium if you're okay taking a bit of a risk. Let's cover some midfielders now. We'll start with the obvious choice here, Wijnaldum from Netherlands, guys. He's probably one of the best assets in the game at the moment in midfield. We've seen him play in a much more advanced role for the Dutch team, and that means a lot of movement in the attacking third along with higher goal attempts. Guys, 3 goals in 3 games, that looks pretty good, right? Plus Czech Republic and then one of Wales or Denmark, it means there's a good potential to get more goals. And because of that, he's surely the standout pick in midfield for this round. Our next pick is Kai Havertz from Germany, guys. I know a lot of you might disagree with this, but he can be a decent option this week. I know England have been pretty good defensively and their numbers do suggest that quite heavily, but as seen with the group of death, you really don't know with these matches. Honestly, having a German midfielder makes a lot of sense if your wildcard is intact. If you ask me, it's a tricky choice between him and Gnabry. Now if you go with recent games, then it's Havertz for sure, but Gnabry has shown what he's capable of with 7 goals and 1 assist in the 8 matches, guys, that he played during the qualifying rounds. Havertz is slightly cheaper, but in terms of starting, I think both will play against England. Guys, the biggest advantage with this risky move is that if they win against England, then they have a potential quarterfinal against Ukraine or Sweden, and I think it's worth the risk. Another sort of a must-have, and this one is majorly because of value, is Berardi from Italy. I think you won't find a better midfielder in terms of the price and the value he's offering, guys. We all know about Italy's defense, but their attack has been solid as well. Guys, they've scored 28 goals in the last 10 games, which is really impressive. Now, Berardi was rested in the last game, and he will be fresh against Austria. He's already got 2 assists from 2 games in the tournament so far, and Austria's defensive numbers are not encouraging at all. They've conceded 13 goals in the last 10 games, so there is a chance for Berardi to do well. Coming to our next player, it's Kevin De Bruyne from Belgium. Guys, he's surely one of the best midfielders in the world right now. He's got 2 assists and a goal in his last 2 matches, and we know he can be explosive. It's important to know that 2 of those returns came from one half of football against Denmark, and that is just insane, guys. I can get you a reservation that he may be a bit pricey, but let me assure you, he's definitely worth it. He offers everything we need in a fantasy player: goals, assists, and of course a great captaincy option whenever he plays. Coming to the fixture, Belgium is playing Portugal, who have had a pretty shocking defense so far, conceding 6 goals in 3 games. Guys, these are all good signs from a KDB owner perspective. Now in case if you want to take a differential route, there are a lot of other options as well. You can take your chances with Bale or Sterling, who are around the 9.5 price range. In case if you want to go a bit cheaper, guys, then you have Perisic from Croatia, who's done really well in his last 2 games, or you can even go for Torres from the same fixture, who's facing an aging Croatian defense. If this also doesn't work for you guys, and if you're really tight on budget, then Forsberg against Ukraine can also be a huge differential around the 7 million price range. With that, guys, let's come to our last category and let's look at some forwards. As is the case with Netherlands players across different positions, we have Memphis Depay, who's looking absolutely nailed in attack. I mean, he can score goals, provide assists, and like KDB, can be quite a handy captaincy option for most weeks. Guys, Czech Republic has had a pretty average defense so far, and I have a feeling that Memphis can really run riot. Over that, quarters against Wales or Denmark, that also looks pretty good from an attacking point of view, and I'm sure he's going to be in a lot of teams for the round of 16. Coming to the most owned forward in the game right now, Romelu Lukaku. He's an absolute beast, guys. He's another forward who can do everything, and naturally his goal contributions for both club and country are quite high. The game against Portugal won't be easy, but a shaky defense means that there are encouraging signs for the Inter Milan forward. He's definitely in the race for the Golden Boot, so his motivation will be sky high. He's a bit of a risky pick, so if you don't want to take that chance, probably go for a French striker, and that's exactly what we're going to cover next. Guys, we picked Benzema from the lot of French strikers. There's not a lot of past data to look into, as Benzema has been away for quite some time when we talk about the international scene, but his brace against Portugal, guys, was very encouraging. He's playing Switzerland, who have conceded 5 goals in the last 3 matches, and there's a good chance that France will get a big score in this game. Post that, it's either Spain or Croatia, who both look a little uncomfortable at the back. Overall, Benzema is cheaper than Griezmann and Mbappe, and he allows you to spend that extra 1.5 to 2 million on other areas of the pitch. Guys, if you have the budget, then you can look at the likes of Mbappe, but I think Benzema with that low ownership can be a great option for the round of 16. Another very interesting approach, guys, and probably a big way to differentiate from the rest, is to play Moreno as your third striker. First of all, he's playing for a decent team in Spain, and secondly, he's super cheap. I think he's played well so far in the tournament and he can get a start against Croatia. Having said that, there's still an element of risk involved as Spain has quite a few other options to go with as well. I think if he plays, guys, he will do well, but are you okay going against the crowd and taking a huge chance with Moreno is the question here. The fact that Croatia's defense is leaky is motivating, but I still think most managers will play safe and go for 3 premium attackers. Now some other options include Immobile if you're okay spending that 10 plus million on an Italian striker. You can also go for the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo against Belgium, guys. He has the ability to score against any team. We've seen that. He's in great form and he can be a great captaincy option as well. I personally would avoid options from England, Switzerland, Sweden and Ukraine as I feel there are better options available elsewhere. Guys, let me know in the comments below what players are you targeting for this round. With that, guys, we've finished our section on the players to target and now let's get into some tinkering. Coming to our draft, guys, and this is what we have. We have the likes of Benzema, Immobile and Memphis Depay in attack. In terms of our midfield, we are going for a couple of expensive options in Wijnaldum and Kevin De Bruyne. The cheaper options include Forsberg and Berardi who are really high value. In terms of our defense, guys, we are playing a back 3 with Spinazzola, Mela and Dumfries in defense. In terms of our keepers as well, guys, we've gone for value options here with Stecklenburg and Ward. If you look at the bench, we have Kai Havertz, Pau Torres and Danielson. Now I think, guys, in terms of some tinkering, we can actually remove Kevin De Bruyne and go for some other midfielder. We can look at some other midfield options here and we'll sort them according to price. So we have the likes of Gareth Bale as well as Sterling around the 9.6 million mark, which are also decent options. In case if you don't want to go for that, you can also go for the likes of Perisic, who will save you around 1 million in price. Guys, personally I won't go for the likes of Insigne as we already have the value pick in Berardi. I think other than that, there's not a lot of other options. You can obviously also look at the likes of Ferran Torres. So let's say we go with Ferran Torres in midfield, and that ways we are able to save around 2.6 million in our budget. Now that's a lot of money, guys. We can actually invest that in attack and probably take out Immobile and get someone like a Ronaldo instead. Let's say we get someone like a Ronaldo here, and with Ronaldo we'll still be having about 0.5 million left in our budget. Now guys, that 0.5 can actually be used to upgrade someone like a Danielson and get Gosens ahead from Germany. So let's say we do that, we get Gosens from Germany here, and I think Gosens is about 5.2 million. So we'll just find him somewhere here, I think. Yeah, this is Gosens. So let's say we take Danielson out and we get Gosens instead. Now with Gosens, guys, we don't have any other budget left and probably this is a decent draft to begin with. Obviously, you can tinker a bit more. Let's say if you don't want to go with Gosens, we'll remove Gosens, we'll have Danielson back in our squad and we can probably increase the budget here. Guys, we can go for an expensive keeper in Donnarumma. Let's say if we do that, we go for Donnarumma here, we take Danny Ward out and get Donnarumma instead. And now we can basically downgrade Ronaldo and probably get someone like a second French attacker or even keep Immobile back in the attack. Guys, in case if you're okay taking a bit of a risk, then you can also go for the likes of Lukaku, who's also a decent option this week. Guys, the picks that I'm pretty set about are probably the Netherlands players as well as the Italian players. Apart from that, guys, if you don't have your wildcard left, you can target the French players as well. Guys, let me know in the comments below what players are you targeting for this round. That'll be all from my side. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, guys, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel as well. We have a team selection video coming up tomorrow along with the best captain picks across all days for the round of 16. Make sure you check that out. Guys, we'll be also doing a deadline stream an hour before the deadline, so you can join us for that as well. Lots of FPL content is coming up, guys, and we'll keep you posted. Till then, keep tinkering with your teams, and I'll see you in Saners next time.